Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Erin and today we're going to do my favorite eyeshadow palettes of 2020. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do this video because I use so many eyeshadow palettes. I change my eyeshadow palette probably daily. I don't tend to stick to the same eyeshadow palette every day or every week or every month. I'm constantly changing my eyeshadow palette, and that's just because I really love eyeshadow. I love experimenting with different formulas. I love trying new brands. It's my favorite part of makeup. I love eyeshadow. So I thought this video was going to be extremely hard for me, but I actually was pleasantly surprised how easy it was for me to pick which palettes I used the most, I gravitated towards the most, and I just felt like I really loved this year. So that's basically the criteria. The reason I picked these palettes were I felt like I used them way more often than my other palettes. I felt myself gravitating towards their color story, and I really enjoyed the formula. So that's going to be why I picked these palettes. So I have a lot of favorite palettes that I didn't put in this video, but just keep in mind that I was just picking the ones that I think I used and loved the absolute most this year. So just be mindful of that. And not all of these palettes came out in 2020. I don't think. I'm not really sure, to be honest. But I used them all this year and tried them all this year. So the first palette is the Girl Meets Makeup Cosmos palette. Now, this palette I didn't think I was going to love as much as I did, primarily because of the ratio of mattes to shimmers. So this palette has way more shimmers in it than mattes. I typically hate that because I feel like it can limit how many looks you can create with the palette. But for some reason, only having this teal, hot pink, and purple actually works really well with every single shimmer in this palette. And the star of this palette are the shimmers. They are so buttery, they are so pigmented, they are so shiny and bright and just in your face, which is what I love in a shimmer formula. And I just really reached for this palette a lot. I was using it way more than I thought I would, and honestly, it surprised me. It was a surprise palette. I really didn't think I was going to love it as much as I do, but yeah, literally the formula is great and the shimmers are beautiful. I highly recommend Girl Meets Makeup. Next up, we have the Menagerie Cosmetics Violet Ink palette, or I think this is like their micro palette. I always get confused what it's called. It has like a longer name and I get like mixed up with it. But these tones are freaking beautiful, and every time I want to do a purple look, I find myself gravitating towards these 6 shades only. And usually with smaller palettes, I find that I feel very limited. I feel very boxed in, and I can't get outside of that box. There's only so many looks that you can come up with 6 shades, and I feel like that's why I don't love mini palettes a lot of the time, because I'm doing the same looks over and over again, and I'm not really that kind of person. I don't typically do the same look over and over again. I do the same kind of shape and stuff like that. You guys know I do cut creases a lot and that kind of thing. I like to switch up color combos. I just like to try new things. I don't typically do the same look over and over again. If I do, it's a very rare occasion, and it's because I was head over heels in love with it. So that's why I think I don't tend to gravitate towards like mini palettes like this, because I feel very caged in and I don't like that. I like to experiment, but for some reason these 6 shades are so different and so unique and so perfectly cohesive that I feel like every look I do is different, and I fall in love with every look I do with this palette. So I don't know if it's the tones, like if it's the purple, like the tones of the purples, and that's why. I'm not really sure, but I don't know. I also like that there's only 2 shimmers and the rest are mattes, just because I prefer more mattes to shimmers. I think it makes it easier to be more creative. But yeah, I don't know. There's just something about this one. The formula is amazing. I love this formula. But I don't know. This is like the one mini palette I feel like I can truly love with all my heart. So next up we have a palette that I'm pretty sure I raved about a few videos ago. I feel like I did a video, like a palette video or something like that. I don't really remember. Anyways, I remember raving about this palette, and this is the Shroud Cosmetics Creepy Cute palette. Now, when I bought this on Betty Jean's recommendation, being here on YouTube. If you know, you know, I'm obsessed with her. But I bought this palette on her recommendation because she said she loved it. And when I first looked at it, I was like, I mean, it's cool, it's unique, but like, I'm not gonna use this that much. There's no way I'm gonna get that much use out of these shades. They're so, not weird, but they're just so unique that why would I gravitate towards these on a daily basis? Now, I am gonna say something very strange because I don't like black eyeshadow, but I use this black eyeshadow all the freaking time, which is so strange to me because I hate black eyeshadow. It's super hard to work with and it's too tricky, and I just give up because it's a lot of work and I'm too lazy to do that kind of thing. But this black is so easy to work with, and I just love how pigmented it is, and I'm obsessed with it. I don't know. It's weird, I know. But also the pastels in here are so vibrant. If you were looking for a pastel palette that is super, super, super pigmented and going to show up on you, check this out because it is so vibrant. I'm always so shocked when I apply these shadows because it's just like a shock. It's just so vibrant. I don't know. They're creamy, they're pigmented, they're glorious. This is my favorite pastel palette I have. I don't have that many, to be honest. I don't really gravitate towards pastels. But this, I've used this so freaking much, and it surprised the crap out of me because I just didn't think that I would gravitate towards a palette like this. It's just so random to me. But God, I use it a lot. A lot. If I'm using black eyeshadow, it was probably this palette. 9 times out of 10, it's this palette. So I don't know, this is a strange palette for me, but I don't know, it was one of my top palettes of 2020. Next we have a palette that I recently bought. I actually don't remember when I did this video. It's been a few months, 2 months, 3 months, I don't really remember, to be fair. I'd have to check. But I'm actually really surprised I like this palette as much as I do. But it is the Be Perfect Cosmetics Carnival 3 Love Tahiti palette with Stacey Marie. This is the longest title in the universe. This is also like a hunk of a palette. It's really, I think it's pretty big. Some people don't think it's big. I think it's huge. I honestly didn't think I was going to use this palette as much as I did. I bought it primarily because when I first saw it, I knew I wanted it, which is not a great way to buy palettes. But when I looked at it, I was like, there's no way I'm going to use this as much as I think I'm going to use this. There's no way. It's too big. There's too many options. I'm going to get overwhelmed. I'm going to forget about it. It's going to sit on my cart and I'm not going to touch it. That's what I imagined when I bought this palette. Now, do I love the formula and do I think it's a great palette? Absolutely. But I just didn't think I was going to reach for it. Hello, I was so wrong. I use this almost every day. At least for one shade, I will use this palette. My book reviews, when I do makeup looks inspired by the book covers, if you watch my book videos, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, no big deal. But when I'm doing like more artistic makeup like that, I reach for this. I just hit myself in the head. I reach for this all the freaking time. There's always one color in here that I absolutely need for a look. I use this so much. I didn't think I was going to use it that much. I really didn't. I'm in awe. The only colors that I don't use that often are like the brown tone neutrally colors, but that's only like one row anyways, and the rest is all bright and shimmery and colorful. So I am just so gobsmacked that I use this palette as much as I thought I was going to. I really just did not picture myself using this gigantic of a palette constantly. I just couldn't imagine it. I don't know. I can't explain it to you. I just thought with all my palettes, there was no way that I was going to pick this one up constantly. But like I said, I've pretty much used this almost every day since I've gotten it, which is crazy for me. That's crazy. Like, I don't really do that. So yeah, I'm really in love with this palette. It has so many colors that I use constantly in my artistic or daily makeup. It just depends on what kind of makeup look I'm doing, but there's always one color at least that I need from this, and it's just crazy to me. I will probably be hitting pan soon. I can see dents being made in some shades, which is insane because I hardly ever hit pan on eyeshadow palettes. So that's saying a lot for me. Now, these next two palettes and the last two palettes of this video, I don't know which one to put in front of which one because I feel like they're almost tied in how often I use them and how much I gravitate towards them. I do think one slightly overrides the other, but I'm not really sure. So, okay, I guess the next palette is going to be the Ace Beauty Oceanic palette. This palette, I knew when I bought this palette that I was going to use it constantly. I absolutely knew when I bought this palette that I was going to use it constantly. These are shades I reach for on the daily. I am a blue-green eyeshadow kind of gal. That's just my favorite. It's what I see myself doing every single day. I love blues and greens. It's just my favorite. And when I saw this palette, I knew immediately it would become one of my absolute favorite palettes in the history of palettes because it just screams my name to me. And oh my god, I reach for this constantly. The shimmers are not only beautiful, but the mattes they're so pigmented. They're just so glorious. I don't know, but I really love this palette for deepening up eye looks. So the deeper greens and blues are some of my favorites to use. I think they're very good with other palettes, and so when I'm doing a book look, I guess a book look, I don't know what to call it, a look inspired by one of the book covers that I read, when I do makeup looks like that, sometimes I pull shades from different palettes, and these are really, really helpful in deepening up shades or finding a pop of color that a cover has or something like that. This is perfect for that, and I just really love this palette. It's probably one of my all-time favorite palettes of ever. I probably already said that. I don't know. It's just such a good formula. It's such a good palette. I love it. I don't know what else to say. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's one of my most used palettes for sure this year. It's fantastic. Now, if you're wondering what palette could have beaten the Oceanic palette, well, it didn't really beat it, to be fair. I think these two are kind of tied for my most used / most gravitated towards palettes. And I don't know which one is like number one. None of these palettes are numbered. Like, this one isn't my absolute favorite of all time, but I just think this one I reached for more than any other palette, even more than the I always forget the name, the Be Perfect Cosmetics one. Even more than that one. I think I reached for this one more, and that is the Menagerie Cosmetics Whale Song palette. Are you surprised that it's a blue-green palette? You shouldn't be. I do at least one blue or green look a week, at least, and I always see that I gravitate towards the Oceanic palette and the Whale Song palette whenever I'm doing blues or greens. It does not matter which blue or green look I'm doing, what kind of blue or green look I'm doing. It doesn't matter. I will always pick one of these palettes to use because they have shades that just perfect a look. I don't really know how to explain it, to be honest. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but the tones of both palettes are just perfect for looks that I enjoy doing. They just have the tones that I reach for every time I do a blue or a green look. They're dingy, they're grungy, they're musty. That's not really the word I'm looking for. Not musty. What am I trying to say? I don't really know. But they have that tone to them in both the Oceanic and the Whale Song palette. The Oceanic, I would say, is a little bit more ocean vibes. I know that's literally what it's called, but it's more like a clearer blue-green tones. They do have some dingy tones, but it's a little bit more water-like, and this is definitely more grungy, and I think that's why this one surpasses the Oceanic just like a teeny tiny bit, because I do love the grunge. Honestly, it was very hard to pick between the Whale Song and the Oceanic palette because I think I use them both equally as much. Maybe this one just like a tiny bit, but they're both beautiful, and I think they're both very reminiscent of each other, so that's why I think they're kind of a tie. But yeah, guys, those are my 6 palettes that I used the most in 2020. I don't know if this is gonna be a fun video or if it was like too short and random. I'm not really sure, but I hope you guys enjoyed it nonetheless. Let me know if you guys like these kinds of videos and you want to see more of them. I can do that. I don't know if I could do more 2020 videos since 2020 is almost over, but you know what I mean. You can let me know in the comments down below. But if you did like this video, please give me a thumbs up. It lets me know what kind of content you guys enjoy from me. That way I can keep providing you with that kind of content. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We can become friends, talk about books, makeup, horror, movies, all kinds of things. I do a lot on this channel, so hopefully there's something for everyone. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week, and I will see you on Friday for Book Review Friday. Bye!